Hello, and welcome to Hey Hi, Who Are You? I'm your host, Merike Hess, and this is the podcast where we talk to regular people that do cool things. Today on the show, we have Emily Bartowicz. I'm hoping I said that properly. Her last name, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce, but she is a ballerina or a retired ballerina, actually. She joined the National Ballet School as a teenager and then danced in ballets internationally. She's also creative in many other ways, but I'll let Emily tell you more about that. So stick around and get to know her.
How are you?
I'm good. Congrats on graduating. Oh
You
my gosh.
too. We did it.
Yay, we did it. Cheers through the screen.
Yeah, I'm so happy.
I can't believe it. Doesn't it feel like we were in school forever?
Yeah, honestly, it did feel like it felt like a very long time. So much so that I'm like, now that we don't have to study, like I don't know what to do with that time anymore. And like, what do I have my free time is back. I don't even know.
Well, like, have you been like how long were you at Ryerson for? Was it 4 years or did you do a little more?
For me, it was 4 years. You were a bit
Yeah.
longer, right?
Yeah, I did like five, but like the last year was part-time. You started a little bit later, like, right? Because you were at the ballet school, right? Is that why you started later?
Yeah. So I was at the ballet school and then I actually worked as a dancer for a bit.
Oh,
So
cool.
I started in 2017 and yeah, it was a bit later.
Cool. Wait, so okay, I want to hear all about this because I know like in passing I've heard that you were at the National Ballet School, which is so cool, but we've never really talked about it because we've only ever talked when we were in a group project. So we
Yeah.
had to like talk about school.
Right.
But yeah, like how did that so like did you dance starting like super young and like what's the whole story? I want to hear it.
Well, buckle in, it's a long one.
Okay,
But
I'm in.
I started dancing when I was 5 years old. So I guess from a fairly young age, I guess that's when most people start.
Yeah.
I was a total tomboy and like didn't even want to do ballet. It was fully my mom. But I guess I showed a lot of potential and I'm kind of like a people pleaser. I have been from a very young age. So I very much like worked hard to impress my ballet teachers. And yeah, like as I grew older, I showed a lot of promise and eventually started to like it, and stopped wanting to play soccer. I realized later on that I'm not very athletic. I just kept going at it. When I was 15, my mom convinced me to audition for the National Ballet School.
Wow, that's so young. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Well, they accept students even younger. They accept students from I think 12 years old.
Wow.
But I honestly like I had teachers tell me I should audition, but for a long time we kind of pushed the idea of it aside just because um, we kind of had this idea that the school is very expensive, and not to say that I would have gotten in necessarily, but I think we were just like, oh, like I don't know, and I
maybe
just yeah, I
maybe
wasn't
it
sure.
wasn't a good time. Well, and also like
Yeah,
doing any younger than 15, like I see a lot of like I was in competitive dance too, and like there were a lot of moms who were pushing their kids to like yeah, like enter those dance competitions, like those big like Next Star, whatever those shows are. And
no,
like some of them would have probably won, but like I think it's so young to be forced, not forced. I mean, I know the kids like it too, but like get like pushed to stardom or like to do some sort of career path when you're so young. Like 15's at least like you're a bit of a human. Like at 12, you're like a baby. Like
exactly. A bit more of an well, I mean, a teenager at least.
yeah, at
Like that
least.
show Dance Moms. Have you seen it?
Yes. Oh my God. Your mom wasn't like that, was she?
She wasn't
Good.
a dance mom at all, but
Yeah.
like definitely not. She definitely stayed out of like any kind of involvement really, but I think she was just kind of the one making sort of decisions for me when I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she just wanted me to do something and saw that I was good at it and said, like you should keep trying.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you see your kid being really good at something, like you don't want them to give up on it. Like you want to nurture
Yeah.
something that like you want to instill in them that like, yeah, if you're excelling, like at least give it a go. Like
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. Um, yeah, so then I was 15 and the way it works is you audition for the summer. Um, and then the summer, if you get in for the summer, you spend a month training in the summer at the school. And then at the end of that month, they either accept you for the full-time program or they don't. And
So
so I
is
got accepted.
and
Uh,
full times like you would miss high school, like you would go to ballet school.
yeah, well,
Wow.
the National Ballet School is kind of a very unique school in the sense that it is a high school,
Oh,
or it is a like elementary slash high school
yeah.
because you have half of the day as your education and half of the day as your ballet training. So you're
Wow.
actually getting an Ontario public school curriculum or private school. I guess it's technically a private school because you do
Right.
pay tuition, but
And like I feel like most normal schools you don't have to like apply to get in. I guess unless it's like an art school, which I guess it's kind of yeah, it's sort of an art school. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
kind of
cool.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and I got in and it was pretty surprising to me because I think I I wasn't necessarily like a very confident dancer. I had a lot of natural ability. I was just like born with very open hips, which sounds weird, but it's
No,
like a
it's yeah.
weird dance.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
like a swimmer being born with long arms. Like
No,
maybe they don't
exactly.
necessarily love swimming, but they're built for it. So then like
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
From like things like that, I think people saw potential in that and kind of, being
They saw your wide hips and went, "Ooh, she's good."
no, I guess so. I don't know. I
So
really
weird.
don't know. Honestly, I just remember being a little kid and just like doing what I was told and just working hard and just like winging it. But I was always so scared. I was always so like insecure and not confident at all.
But you weren't that girl that was like, "I want the solo." Like you weren't like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
no,
no,
exactly.
I
I was
can't picture you like that. You're very like I don't know, yeah, chill. Yeah.
I don't think I have a competitive bone in my body. And I mean, I don't know. You don't necessarily have to have a competitive side or personality to like be successful as a dancer. I think there are
Yeah.
some people who are,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's crucial to kind of that that job.
Well, if you're really good, which clearly you are, you didn't have to be competitive to get in. You just
Well, thank you.
and you just tried and you got there.
I mean, when I got into the school, like that was a whole different story because there's a lot of
Right.
talent in that school.
Right. Oh my
Uh,
gosh, yeah, what was that like? Is it all it's not all girls, right? No, there's
no.
guys too. Right. Okay, that's good. A little bit less catty than hopefully, but
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that um at like my class, my grade, we were majority girls. We had 3 boys in our class, so it does
oh,
seem like an all girls school at times, but I think they're trying to even out the acceptance a bit now.
yeah.
Like I think I remember reading in the news maybe a couple of years ago they had a graduating class that was majority boys, which is pretty
Oh,
cool.
that is cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Um but it was good. I mean, honestly, it felt like this little um like ballet oasis, It was just a fun time. A lot of students lived on campus and I did in my last year.
Okay, so it's kind of like a residency thing. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because there are a lot of international students that come. A lot of
Oh,
students
right.
from the US, from Japan, from I had colleagues from South Africa. Yeah, there's people from all over the world that come to the school.
Wow.
Because it is kind of in Canada, it's unique because it is the only. Actually, I'm not sure if it's the only ballet school that offers kind of a high school education, but it is one of the few at least.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that is very valuable. It's also a very world renowned school as well. I think there's a lot of our alumni all over the world dancing for very big companies, and it's a good school like overall. And I
Yeah.
think it also was a lot of fun. Like the friends that I made there, I'm still in touch with a lot of them. It's just a very like when you share an experience like that, you develop some pretty close relationships.
Well,
So
and it's like you were put in a situation with people you already had something so big in common with. Like that's such a rare situation to be in. It's kind of like university a little bit where like the people in your program are likely to be similar to you. Like in creative industries, like our
yeah,
program, like we are relatively very similar overall. Like I think most people you meet in our program, we at least have like entrepreneurial
Yeah,
things
it's
in
true.
vibe in like in common or something, like, yeah. So it's kind of like that. Like you got put into a spot where you kind of your ratio of people you probably get along with is probably pretty high. Because
Yeah, no,
like,
that's true. That's a good point, actually. It's like when you
yeah.
have kind of a common, I don't like
Well,
common
passion, I
passion,
feel like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
work ethic,
Well, you
and
didn't have any like lazy people there that don't love dance. Like they all worked hard to get there. So like you all have
yeah.
that in common too. Like you're probably pretty like, I don't know, dedicated people, which is also cool.
Actually, that's another thing about the school is that it's kind of cutthroat in the sense that at the end of each year they kick people out.
Oh my God. So it is really competitive. Oh my God.
Yeah, but I mean, there can be a number of reasons. It can be, there are some students that are accepted when they're 12 years old and they change
Right.
a lot from the span of being 12 to the span of being 17, 18.
Right. And maybe they don't love it anymore, or maybe
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah. Okay.
they
Yeah.
lose motivation. I mean, maybe their abilities change. Like,
Maybe they didn't
athletes.
excel at the same rate as other people did or something,
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that was almost like an advantage for myself coming into the school a bit later because I
True.
didn't have to kind of, I guess, go through that
Well, you
intensive.
didn't have to go through puberty.
Yeah, like I mean, kind of, I was already through it at that point. I was probably still going
Yeah.
through it, but
Yeah, but no, you had actually turned into, like we were saying before, like a bit more of a human. You weren't
yeah,
like a child that didn't know what they wanted. Like you kind of knew.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty, pretty cutthroat.
So then when you're in there, like while you're in the school, do they already put you in productions like in Canada, or how does that work?
So in my school, there are a couple of shows during the year where you're performing um, not a full length ballet, but like an excerpt from a few different ballets.
Okay.
Um, so I actually was injured for the majority of my time at the school.
Oh no.
Sadly, my first year I was in a ballet called La Bayadere,
Okay.
which is a classical ballet, and that was kind of my first experience performing with the school. And then the next year we were going to do a ballet called Giselle.
Oh, I've
Uh,
heard of it. Yes, I think
yeah,
I've seen it actually, even.
oh
I think
god,
when I was little, like my mom loves the ballet, so she would always bring us.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
Giselle is a classic, and it's also a beautiful ballet.
Hmm.
Um, and it was, I was really excited to do it. I might have done it. I might have done like a bit of it at my old dance studio. But it's a very beautiful ballet, very stylistic. And I actually was, um, I can't remember if I was like put in the role or if I was understudying, like a soloist role, because whoever did the casting was someone who liked my dancing, I guess. And before even getting to like, I think I did like two rehearsals and then I got injured.
What
Got a
happened?
stress fracture in
Oh,
my tibia, my left tibia, which is like my shin bone.
yeah.
Um,
Oh,
and yeah, and those are pretty nasty. Like they're a very common dance injury is getting a stress fracture, but
yeah.
um, you're basically like your bone is kind of beat up and broken, and you have to take time off to heal. And
Oh.
yeah, and coincidentally, I got the same exact injury the next year.
No, because well, was it the same one? Like, did it just not heal properly? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I think so. I
Oh,
think it's like very common to re-injure that kind of an injury.
yeah.
Maybe don't heal it properly or don't give it the right amount of time.
Yeah.
And in my case, I actually busted the second time in an audition.
No. Oh my gosh, that would be so horrific. Did you like cry in front of the judges and stuff?
Honestly, sometimes it shocks me how thick my skin used to be because I just like, we were doing fouettes. It was the very end of the
Yeah,
audition.
like where your feet go out and in, whatever,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Returning. And
yeah.
I am a horrible turner. Like I've always
Me
been bad
too.
at turning.
I was so bad.
Yeah. It's really like I have so much respect for people who are just like so good at turning because I am not one of those people. That was never my strong suit. And I just remember like, it's an audition, you're giving it your all, and I'm just like trying my best to whip it out. But the repetitive, I guess like impact of that one leg
Yeah.
I just felt it get like worse and worse and worse each time I went, and I just felt a sharp like pain, like a sharp crack almost in the same spot. And I was like, ah, I did it again. And I just knew it. I knew because I had felt the pain before.
Yeah.
But at that point, I think we either had like one more exercise left or it was pretty much the end.
So you
So
finished the audition?
yeah, I finished the audition.
Wow,
But
amazing.
yeah, I'm lucky it happened like towards the end because I don't know. I would have probably, I don't even know what I would have done. Like I probably
Yeah.
would have pushed through it to be honest.
Yeah. Well, true,
Yeah,
I guess, yeah, if it's not like, because I guess a fracture isn't like, it's not like a break where like, it's like actually like separated. Like it's just like a crack in the bone, right?
exactly.
Yeah. So like I guess you can push through it, even though it's probably bad for it, but like you can physically do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yee.
think that's definitely, ballet definitely has like two sides of the coin. I think it can be very beautiful and rewarding, but also equally so very abusive.
Totally, your body is being put through so much, like just being on point all the time. I don't even know how your feet, like, what are your feet okay?
I mean, they're fine now. I don't think I had any major issues with my feet, like on point. They they strengthen over time and they just become
Yeah.
better. And you can just tolerate it. It is kind of crazy to think about, but
Yeah. Because yeah, like my grandma, like my mom's mom used to be a ballet dancer, like up until she was like 20 or something. And yeah, like her feet, like I don't know, like maybe it's just maybe this is what her feet were always gonna look like, regardless of ballet or not. But like they're literally just like her toes are just all in such a weird, like
oh
they're all
yeah,
pointing in and like kind of like her, what do you call it, like a bunion? It's like really
yeah.
big. And like I don't know, it just looks really painful. And like it just never went away. Like she was like this, she remembers it happening, like getting worse as she was doing ballet and then she like quit or whatever. But
Right.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I have seen feet like that for sure.
Oh,
They're like they go like this way. They're not
yeah, it's
really my foot.
weird.
It's like I mean, mine are actually. I'm lucky they're not that bad,
Hmm.
yeah, there are some pretty beat up feet out there as well.
Oh, poor feet. So then when you started getting, you said you worked as a ballerina for a few years after. So how was that? What did you do?
So I first I was kind of like in my last year at the school, but I was also hired to be a for a guest contract at the National Ballet of
Oh,
Canada.
like to teach.
No,
Oh,
to
to
dance.
perform. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
So I performed in the Nutcracker, which not a lot of people know because it's a big production in Toronto come Christmas time.
Yes, it's the most magical ever. Wow, who were you in it?
I was a snowflake and I was a pink flower.
Oh,
The little pink
cute.
flowers. And that was I think for a lot of students in the school, it kind of is the goal and dream for a lot of students to kind of filter into the company. But there's only like honestly a couple of spots per year.
Yeah.
So it's extremely competitive. I had a bit of an advantage because they hired me to work for Nutcracker. One of the ballet mistresses at the time, she's not there anymore, but she really liked me and she like always kind of was on my side. When I first came in for rehearsal at the company, like this little kid, I wasn't that little, but I was this kid from school and I was just like so nervous. And she actually gave me like a private coaching session. Um, so like that period of time, I just drove myself crazy, absolutely like nuts, because I really wanted to get that job afterwards. I was just like, honestly, like it was not maybe the best time mental health wise.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, because I think, the new environment, like I only had a couple of people that I knew there, a couple of friends.
Yeah.
I just was like working insanely hard, insanely stressed. I put an insane amount of pressure on myself. I like wasn't really eating right, to be
You have
honest.
like constantly something to prove, and it's probably like always on your mind. And like, I can't imagine you'd even sleep very well because you're just like stressing yourself out to such a degree. Yeah, that sounds really hard.
Yeah, and it
Eesh.
was bad. And after, Nutcracker finished, that's kind of the period of time where they released the acceptances for the next year. and I was just waiting and waiting and waiting, and in the end, they didn't offer me a job.
Oh
So
no. Oh,
I think, I mean, the reason being that I was too short. I'm not that tall for a ballet dancer.
right.
I'm like 163 centimeters, which is like just about 5'4", I think.
Right. Yeah,
Uh,
which isn't like that short. Like, I mean, you're much taller than I am, but like for a ballet dancer, yeah, that does kind of put you in a weird height bracket. Because what's the like, are most people more like 5'6", 5'8", or is it even taller?
yeah. Well, it depends on the ballet company, but the National Ballet
Right.
of Canada, especially at that point in time, was significantly taller. I
Okay.
was like the shortest. I would have been the shortest one.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and I guess the reason that they it would be hard to have you there is because of like pairing you up and like in choreography you would like stand out. Is that like the issue?
yeah, I mean that would probably be one issue. I mean, I don't know if like that was the be all end all reason. Like it could have
Yeah,
been
but it
they didn't
might
want
have
me
been part of
to.
it. Yeah.
Um, I'll honestly never know, and it's really fine. It's something
Yeah.
that like because and anyways, like because of that, I actually um by sheer irony, I was my the job that I did end up getting was a company that wanted me because of my height.
Oh,
So
well,
yeah,
okay.
exactly. So it was a company in Copenhagen called Tivoli. Um, if you are familiar with Copenhagen, there's a beautiful, like the world's oldest amusement park in the center of the city.
What?
And the,
I didn't know that.
yeah,
That's so cool. Wait, what's it called? The amusement park.
oh, Tivoli Gardens.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm Googling this after. That sounds
Yeah,
really cool.
it's really amazing. And the ballet company was based within the amusement park. So
Wow.
yeah,
That
it
sounds
was
like a movie plot. Oh my God, that's so cool.
it was a honestly it's such a great experience. And the reason being that I had to be so short is that the stage is one of the oldest stages in possibly the world. It's like one of the oldest like pantomime theaters, and it's
Okay.
very small. And the stage is raked, which means it's like slanted a bit. And
Yeah.
a lot of old ballet theaters or theaters in general will have a raked stage because they used to build amphitheaters or theaters that had a flat floor plan, so the seats were all flat and you couldn't
Oh,
see
yes.
above people's heads. So you had to like the stage then to sort of compensate would be slanted.
So you're dancing on a slanted stage. Oh my gosh, that sounds kind of hard. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I remember hearing about that in school and being like, no way, I'm never gonna do that. I'm never gonna dance on a slanted stage. It sounds impossible. But I did, like, of course, that's my luck again.
yeah.
And it was actually not that bad. You get used to it.
It must have almost been weird going back to a normal stage after that, almost.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
It's like I remember we did this is not the same thing at all, but I remember we went on a week and a half long boat trip, like as a family once, like just we have like a little boat and that has like a sleeping cabin, and we went on like a week and a half long boat trip. And I remember like the first day we stepped off the boat and walked on normal, like not wavy ground, was like it felt so weird. Like it felt like heavy and strange. So I
Yeah,
feel like maybe kind of like that.
that is very similar, actually. That's
Yeah.
a pretty accurate way to describe it.
Yeah. But so how did you get that job? Did you apply all over the world when you were applying or
Yeah, so more or less, pretty much. Basically, it's kind of a funny story. I got my rejection from the National Ballet of Canada. It destroyed me. I really lost a lot of motivation after that, but I did keep on auditioning. I had gone to Oslo to audition. I went to Bordeaux to
so
audition.
like you have to fly to audition?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing that you even that's so much dedication to even book those flights for that.
Well,
Wow.
it's actually crazy, and I think this is like a bit of a flaw with the ballet world as well. And I'm sure they're sort of reevaluating it now with COVID, because you'd have these auditions that would invite dancers from all over the world. And a lot of people would get cut like right after the bar. It would just be like,
Wow.
you devote a lot of your own resources and time to kind of come to these auditions. And I hated auditions. Like, again, I was never a confident ballet dancer. Like, I never was. I never had that kind of like, look at me
Yeah,
mentality.
like I'm here and I'm gonna do it super well and blah blah blah. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So I actually never got a job out of an audition.
Oh,
Um, and the way I did get my job was that um, basically, I think I had sent an email to the director of Tivoli Ballet. And he reached out to my artistic director of the school and was like, "We're looking for a girl about this height. Like, would you recommend Emily?" And um, my artistic director, I love her. She's such a supportive person in my life, like especially going through the school. But she gave me a great recommendation, and
oh,
he didn't even ask to see me. He was like, "Okay,"
and you
and
just got
I
the
got the
job right
job.
off the bat.
Yeah,
Wow.
it is honestly the most crazy thing because I was really that year I was so close to giving up. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna get a job. Like I'm really just feeling hopeless about this whole thing, and I got one by like the most bizarre circumstance as well.
I feel like that's the case with a lot of like actors as well. Like they'll
Mhm.
do audition after audition after audition and they'll just start being like, well, nothing's ever going to work for me. And then
Yeah.
it's always some connection or like some kind of random circumstance that does it. And like but that makes sense. Like people are looking for a personal connection and if he had that like that the director at Tivoli found that connection with your director and then you just happen to fit it, that's like such those stars aligned.
I know it's crazy. It's crazy to think back on because like really like I mean I was so close to quitting and so close to just like going to university at that point.
Yeah. Well, because, yeah, how old were you at that point? Like 18, 19, or something?
I think I was 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I actually think I had quite short notice when I got offered that job and when my contract started. So I think I had like a month to sort of pack up my life and move to
Wow.
Denver. Yeah, but
And
I was
oh no, go
sorry.
ahead. Sorry.
I was lucky because I actually had already a few friends in Copenhagen.
Oh, that is very lucky.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, they were also dancing in Denmark. So um, and they were from my school and yeah, that was kind of nice to have like almost a little bit of family there.
Yeah. Been with somebody
Totally.
or like what did you do? Like I feel like an 18-year-old just moving across the world is like so scary. But I mean, a lot of people do it, I guess, but I can
No,
imagine.
it's like really crazy to think back on because I think one thing about ballet and like being taking it seriously and pursuing a professional career out of it is like you become so much older, much younger than most people.
Yeah. Well, you're basically working almost a career from when you went to the school when you were
Yeah,
15. Like,
no,
yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
you do mature a lot quicker in that aspect. You're sort of forced, and it just you accept it because everyone around me was like moving somewhere to pursue a job, and they just did it. And I was like, I had accepted this early on that if I wanted to be a ballet dancer, that would likely happen. So I didn't even think twice. I just moved there. I was able to. I think the job I got was able to sort of help me find a place. I moved in with another ballet dancer at the company, and um, kind of a crazy living situation. We lived with this like, but yeah. So the ballet company helped me find a place to live with another dancer there, who became a very good friend of mine, obviously, and the company itself was quite small, so I would say that everyone who worked there, we all got along for the most part.
Was there a language barrier? Like, did you, because like there must have been, right? Like, not everyone speaks English, or do they?
Well, I would say Denmark is a very English speaking
Okay.
country. Like compared to some of the other places in Europe that I've been to, everyone in at least Copenhagen spoke fluent English.
Right. I guess it's a bigger city like that. That's their capital, right? Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah. So I guess it's kind of like in Toronto, like it's a way more like international kind of
yeah,
feeling. Yeah, true.
exactly. So I never really actually um, found it that challenging. People were also like very open to talking to you in English, whereas I have met some reservations about that in other places I've been to, but
Totally. Yep.
that
Same.
was just very, yeah, it was very comforting. It was a very, I would say, like, Denmark is probably one of the easiest places to move to as a foreigner.
Oh, good
Um,
to know.
like, um, in terms of maybe like, like welcomeness, or it being
Yeah.
a very welcoming country. Um, and I mean, it depends who you ask. Like, I had a positive
Yeah.
experience. I'm also very lucky because I have EU citizenship.
Yes, because you're Polish,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
Yeah.
Polish. My
Yeah.
whole family, except for me, was born in Poland.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was born in Canada,
Aw.
but I do have a passport, so it made that process a bit smoother. I know that's not the case for a lot of people, so I'm
Yeah,
quite.
because you could have had the issue of like a visa and all that, and then that just makes it so much more complicated. But yeah, I have an EU passport as well, and it just makes things so smooth. Like you can literally fly from country to country there, and like no one asks you anything.
It's so easy, and you can
Yeah.
like you could probably study there too. Like, some countries
Yeah.
will let you study for free.
Yeah.
If you
Well,
wanted
true.
to.
Actually, yeah. Why didn't you go to university over there? That would have been really cool.
Yeah, honestly, I would have. I think I did look into it kind of as I was planning that transition. But there weren't really any programs offered in English that interested me
Oh,
for a
true.
bachelor's. Um, and I mean, maybe in the future, like for a master's or something, I would consider it again because I love that city so much. Like, I just went back for exchange,
Yeah,
and
I was gonna say, didn't you go there again? Like I saw your pictures and like I was like, hold on a minute. So yeah, you've been there like you've lived there. Wait, how long? Okay, wait. Let's back up a second. You how long did you live there when you worked at Tivoli
I
or
was there
Tivoli?
for, I think, 3 years or just under 3 years.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So did you come back often or did you just kind of buckle down and live there all the time?
So I came back between contracts. So usually I would be back around like the winter. We would
Okay.
have a break from, I guess, January until April or something.
Okay.
So we had a few months off between contracts, kind of depending on the year. There was one year that I chose to just stay there, but that was my last year, I think, where I just was like, I'm gonna stay, try to make it work, and I got a job in a cafe, and yeah.
That's awesome. Wow. Oh my gosh, you've lived such a like long life already, I feel like. Like you're so young and you've already done so much. It's so amazing.
I, I, yeah, like, I guess that's true. I don't really take enough time to sort of sit back and realize it, but yeah, it
Well,
was like
because you've had like a career before you even went to university. Like most people cannot say that.
true. I mean, not a very long career. It was honestly not that long, but it was good. I felt it was like exactly what I needed.
So what made you stop? Was it like it just was kind of you felt done with it or you needed to move on or I don't know.
Yeah. I felt a bit stagnant. I think in my, yeah, like, going into my third year, I felt a bit like, um I wouldn't say bored is the right term, but I felt like I almost needed more.
Yeah.
And it was around that time that I also started my blog, which was kind of like a creative outlet at the time. Um, and I really enjoyed doing that. And I think it was just kind of then that I was like, maybe I didn't know if maybe I needed a new, um, like a new ballet company. Maybe I wanted to go somewhere else, or maybe
Just
if
a
I,
change you needed. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I did do a couple of auditions. Um, in that time, again, like, I'm horrible at auditions, so I didn't get a job, but I only did, I think, 2 auditions, and then was like, I really don't want to spend any more time auditioning. I really don't like this. Like, I love like the job of a ballet dancer is a lot of fun. Like, I would say that it didn't feel like work. It felt like bizarre to be paid for something I love to do and something that felt like a lot of fun. I loved my colleagues. I loved performing. And I just love that sense of working hard. Like, I've always been kind of someone who will rise to the challenge and work hard on it. Um,
Very
and
like
that,
satisfying to put in a lot of work and then you
yeah,
like feel it pay off, like physically feel it pay off, which is cool.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
the physical work as well. And I loved also the city as well. Like, I loved Copenhagen, and but I think I just was like, you know what? I think that I need to sort of get out of the ballet bubble and try something new.
Yeah, like there's a whole world out there that you haven't gotten to really be a part of since you were
Yeah,
15. Like there's a lot more out there, which your little bubble was great, but like there's just so much more. Yeah.
well, exactly. Like you pretty much hit the nail on the head or whatever the expression is. Like
Yeah.
that's what it is. There's I think like being in ballet or being in really any niche kind of a sport or art or anything really, you are in a bubble and you're kind of isolated from other things that exist. And if you are in that bubble from a very young age, um, you don't really know that much about the rest of the world. And so was very curious at that point. I'm like, what else is there? What's out there? With my blog, I was talking to a lot of people that were sort of outside of my industry, and that definitely sparked more curiosity. And then, yeah, and then I was like, okay, well, I'll look at programs back in Canada. My whole family's here, so I think that was a huge incentive because I'm very close with my family. I really thought that kind of a good transition out of ballet would be finding a program that could kind of combine arts but still have something a bit more practical like business. Yeah, anyways, I got in, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, so you were still in Copenhagen, and then when you got in, that's when you decided to move back. Like,
Yeah,
I guess, yeah, okay.
yeah. I finished my contract. So my contract went until the end of the summer, and then
Oh,
started.
then you flew right back and went straight to school.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
You must be very good at like fast packing and moving.
I guess so. I've had a lot of experiences like that. But I hate packing, which is quite, I don't know how I do it. I literally just lie on my bed and like, please, someone do it for me.
Someone do this for me. And
Yeah,
like I feel like packing always has some sort of emotion to it. I think maybe that's why most people hate packing, I think, is that the packing itself isn't that bad, but I think there's always it's either something starting or something ending or like a change. So then there's like this weird like anxiety put
yeah.
together with packing. At least personally, I feel like I don't know. Yeah, no, totally.
There is such an emotional connection to packing. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, which is funny. It's like, oh, I'd have to put these sweaters and fold them in this bag, but it's more than that.
So much
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
There's both the physical weight and the emotional weight.
Yes, exactly. Baggage. It's all about baggage. Wait, so in creative industries at Ryerson, I don't know if we both either of us said Ryerson, but your two like modules, because there's like 16 or something we get to choose from, right? I think something like that. Yeah, but your two modules were what were your modules?
I was in interior design and graphic communications, which is like graphic design, basically.
Yeah,
Packaging.
I was in that one too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I guess actually we kind of skipped over your blog. You started it in Copenhagen and like what I've read a few of your articles and I really or articles, posts, blog posts, whatever. But they're very like personal, I feel like. Is your whole blog like that? Like is that why you started it sort of as like a diary or like what
Yeah,
was it?
I think so just a disclaimer, I haven't written on my blog in about a year at this point. Just it's been a
Pandemic.
crazy year. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just haven't had time or I guess emotional capacity to sort of, tend to that. That being said, now that I'm done school, I'm hoping I can pick it up again.
Yes.
And I actually want to like sort of pivot the idea a bit, maybe rebrand. So these are some of the ideas that I have because I do like having that creative outlet. I think that a lot of them were personal. Like I think for the most part, when I first started, I'm a pretty open book. Like I'm pretty okay talking about myself, my feelings, like what I'm doing. Even if nobody asks, like I'm
Me
all
too.
for just like word vomit and bringing it out there. But I always try to like give myself a theme. So I think like I've had some more fun themes, like I had a 90s theme or a 70s theme, and I've had a theme about transitions as well, which I think was actually when I transitioned out of ballet and into school.
Yeah.
And I really like to kind of extract the meaning of the theme. So I think a transition can be like, you know, literally my transition out of one career and into academia. I think I even made like a blog post about like the transition of my morning commute or something.
Yeah.
But I just think like I find it interesting when you can have a word that's very broad and open ended and just try to like pick apart every single meaning you can find.
That's
Uh,
cool. That's like a very like higher level thinking of you. Like,
well, I mean, it was just like, yeah, I just think it was, again, it started as this very like sort of outlet to have my creativity and just like be. I've always liked to write. That was something I really liked from a very young age, and I think when I started taking ballet more seriously, I really put my writing aside and I didn't tend to it at all.
yeah.
And then I started my blog and I was like, great, I forgot that I love this. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And that
Um,
kind of like I think you said that the blog kind of like inspired you to move away from ballet and like move into a graphic communications kind of more based um schooling, which like that's really cool that like your own blog kind of like you inspired yourself almost. That's so fun.
what an interesting way to think about it. But yeah, I've always been big on creativity and like I kind of knew I wanted to do something within that. Um, and also I like briefly thought I wanted to be an architect, but very briefly because you know, like Copenhagen is one of the most architecturally beautiful
Yeah,
cities.
I was gonna say you were probably surrounded by it. You were like, this is so cool. I want to be part of it. Like for sure. Like
Exactly.
beautiful buildings are one of the most inspiring things to me too. Like it's just like architecture is amazing. Yeah. So how could you not like absorb it in Copenhagen for sure? Yeah.
No, exactly. That's such an effect on me. And I think that overall, when I do travel, I was telling my parents this yesterday, but when I travel, what stands out to me the most and what is the most memorable to me is the architecture and the people.
Yeah.
So if the people are like warm and receptive, that really sits with me. I'm like super sensitive, so that is just something that like sticks with me is how nice people are, how like
Yeah.
they're what they're
Welcoming.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I think that so I didn't study architecture because I took a course, like I think I took a distance course before actually starting university, and it was like an architectural drawing class.
Oof.
Anyways, I wasn't that good at it, so I thought, you know, I don't think I actually want to do this, but I am actually working in architecture now, just on the marketing side of things. So it's kind of
Oh, that's really cool. I
yeah,
didn't know that. Okay,
yeah.
wait. I have one more question about your blog, and then I want to talk about your architecture working right now.
Okay.
But it's called Fjord, right? Or how do you say it?
Yeah. I mean, so there's not really a right way to pronounce it, and that's kind of the point. So I
Okay.
call it what do I even call it? I call it fjord or fjord.
Okay.
So it's meant to be the word fjord. It's like a little inlet of water between like land is like a
Yeah.
fjord.
Yeah.
Um, and I actually thought of that name while I was in Norway. I went on a little trip to Bergen, Norway, um, which is a really charming town in Norway. And it was around this time I was like, I want to start a blog. Like I know I want to start a blog. I need something to do. And I just was in Norway and I got this idea. I think I probably visited a fjord or something. And the idea behind it is that it is the mispronunciation of a foreign word. And
Ah, I like that. Okay.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. So that's why there's like not really a formal way to say it.
Yeah.
And I don't really say it out loud that often. Like I only really refer to it in writing. So that's why I'm like,
Yeah.
how do I say it?
Yeah.
uh,
No, totally.
but um, but yeah, I think when I first started it, the approach that I had was very much about like I am learning how to be an adult, and this is foreign territory to me. And
And
being
this
this
is you
kind
kind of like making mistakes
yeah,
in this foreign territory. Yeah. No, I like
exactly,
that. It's very symbolic. I like it.
exactly. And I also was living in a foreign country at the time, so
Right.
it just I don't know, it just made sense. I was like, this is what it is.
Um, yeah, and like I feel like you're really good at photography as well. Like I don't know if that's just like a hobby, but like your photos and things are always really beautiful on your Instagram and on your blog.
Yeah, like I don't do it professionally. I do Instagram like any normal person does Instagram. But I think I'm somebody who tries to sort of present or like capture beauty or what I find beautiful and like match colors, or I follow a certain aesthetic, and I just like it when things look beautiful, and I try to sort of do that to the best of my abilities.
It works. Like you have a very like ethereal, like very aesthetic, like you can I feel like you have a very specific viewpoint on all your photos. It's cool. It's like I don't know. I know when it's your photo when it comes on the feed.
That's so funny you say that, because I'm like constantly asking myself, I'm like, what is my brand? I don't really know
Oh,
how to
you
answer
have
that.
one,
I
definitely.
guess that's just my approach, is I'm just like finding what is beautiful in my day-to-day life. And obviously now it's a bit different because of COVID, but I'm still trying my best. Besides that, I also have a film camera. I know it's like the trendy thing to do now, but I really like taking film photos. I love taking pictures of landscapes when I travel. Like I like to dip my toes into all creative outlets a little bit, and I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily like amazing in one, or like I think I'm just like a little bit good at everything.
Yeah.
Not okay, that sounds bad, but
No,
like a
no,
little
I know what
bit
you mean.
good at
Yeah.
multiple disciplines, and I like to sort of, and I think that's also why creative industries has been a very good program for me, because it is very much like multidisciplined, and
And
there's a
finding
lot.
ways to like mix disciplines too, which is really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah, like
definitely.
you could even like I don't know, yeah, like do like dance photography and that'd be a really cool like combination of two of your passions. Like I don't know, yeah, like there's just so many ways where you could yeah, combine with different industries and just find a
Yeah,
new way to be creative together, which I think
yeah.
we were
Yeah,
going to talk
so
about
cool.
your architecture job you have now. What company are you working for? What is that?
So I work for Hariri Pontorini Architects. They're a Toronto-based architecture firm. They do a lot of work within Canada, some work globally. And it's really, I just started, so I'm new to the
Oh,
job.
cool.
I,
Congrats.
thank you. I'm the marketing coordinator. I'm one of the marketing coordinators, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it so far. And it's nice because I think, like kind of going back to how like Copenhagen really opened my eyes towards architecture, and also just like urban design as well, because I think it is it's like an oasis, really. It's a well-designed city. Public transit just makes sense there. You can bike everywhere. There's bike lanes on literally every single street. Um, and I just was like, wow, I've never seen a city function so well
Yeah.
and also be so beautiful and charming and historic. Kind of what I'm also seeing now with this job is kind of the opportunity that Toronto has to have very amazing structures and public spaces, and there's just a lot of potential. And I think that is something I really like about this industry. I think what I really wanted to do, sort of finding a job post grad, was um, focus on I don't know how to say this, but focus on quality over quantity. I
Yeah.
think like I am like, especially coming out of ballet, where I would literally send my CV and headshot to every single company around the world and see who got back to me.
Yeah.
I have adopted this mentality where I'm like, just send everything to everyone and see what gets back at you.
Yeah.
But actually, like, I don't think that's the best approach for what I call the real world.
Yeah. Wait, did you get stuck with a an online internship as well?
Partially. So I actually started my internship while I was still on exchange.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah, so almost like the blessing about virtuality is that I was able to complete an internship in Canada, 6 hours
While in
behind, while being
yeah,
in Denmark and sort of finishing off my time there.
cool.
Um, but then I came back in August, I think. Yeah, it was August, like end of August. I did my quarantine, and um,
Oh, wait, so you were in Copenhagen during COVID times?
yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. What
Yeah.
was that like? I can't wait. What? So yeah, I'm surprised you were even able to come back. Like you're really lucky that you were able
Yeah,
to.
it was pretty scary. To be completely honest, it was pretty frightening because I wasn't just in Copenhagen, but I was actually traveling in Portugal while like the whole world shut down. You know that 1 week in March when just like
Yep.
shit fan, everything happened. I was on a school trip in Portugal.
Oh
Um,
my God. And
and
you're away from your family. You're like not even in your like home base in
yeah,
Europe. You're like in some other place in Europe and you're like, "Oh my God."
yeah, no, exactly. So got back to Copenhagen like ASAP, but I just kind of was like, I felt pretty safe in Copenhagen. It was just kind of like, if we just stay inside, it's like we'll be fine. I was able to like still kind of enjoy myself towards the end. Yeah.
But so with your um internship, I guess what was your role really similar to your current role that you're doing, like marketing
It
related?
was a little bit different. So my role at my internship was, I would say, more social media based. I was also writing for their blog. Um, Whereas now I am working on what is called an RFP, a request for proposal. Like that's
Oh,
kind of
okay.
the majority of what I do. Um, and for architecture firms, not just architecture firms, but you also have like engineering firms, consultants. Like you have something called like, well, like you have RFPs because let's say the city of Toronto wants to build a library and they say like, send us your submissions.
Oh, yes, kind of like an open call for submission.
Yeah.
It'll be like, "Hey, all you design firms, like give us your pitch and we'll propose." Yeah, okay, 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 okay. Yeah, that makes
So what
sense.
I do now is a bit more about like building that submission in collaboration with the rest of the team, and yeah, trying to get it work for the firm basically.
That's actually a really important job. That's cool. Wow, that's a great like entry level position. Good for you.
It's
Wow.
Thank you. I'm really enjoying it so far. I honestly like didn't expect that I would be, but I am. Yeah.
Honestly, when I asked what modules you were in, I was expecting you to say fashion because your fashion is so fun. I'm so surprised you didn't want to be in fashion. Like I don't know. I'm surprised.
Yeah. That's like, thank you for complimenting my fashion, but I don't know why I didn't take it. I've heard it's a great module. I think at the time I was just like, I don't think I've ever really wanted to work in the fashion industry, to be quite honest. Like I've always been sort of like discouraged from it just because I think it's quite challenging to actually get into.
It's almost like a parallel to the ballet like
Yeah,
world actually. Maybe
that
that's what
might be
made you
it.
not want to go into it. You were like, I've had enough of that kind of
That might be
stuff.
it. Like a bit of PTSD there. So
Yeah, literally.
you're kind of right there.
Random, but just as a specific fashion item that I've recently been obsessed with that you posted about was that jacket. That like really beautiful. It's kind of like these colors. It's like sort of peachy colored. Is that from a company in Denmark or where
No,
is it?
it's
No.
from it's a design she's a designer in Amsterdam right now.
Okay.
And anyways, I was like talking to her. And she might be moving to Toronto at some point. But
Cool. Do you know
yeah,
her?
no, not personally, no,
Oh,
just like the internet. But
cool.
yeah, her name, I actually don't know her name, but the brand is called Masha with Maria.
Okay.
And she makes these recycled wool jackets that I just think are so beautiful and
They're
so
so
interesting.
beautiful.
What I do find very interesting about fashion is kind of like the decade trends, I think.
Yeah, it
I
is
just
really
find,
cool. Like the whole like recycling of styles, then they just pop up again. Like I'm very interested in that. Like,
yeah,
does that just happen organically, or like how does that happen? I'm
I wonder.
curious.
And I will be honest, like the most mind-boggling part of that is like current fashion, because Y2K fashion is returning. And I remember just being like so confused with fashion in the early
It
2000s.
was so ugly. I'm sorry. No offense to anyone else, but I find it horrific.
Yeah, so ugly. So for the longest time, I was like, there's no way that decade will ever come
It
back.
came back so soon. It came back
No,
so freaking soon. I can't believe it. Oh, I wanted to ask you about working on Rad, just Rad. It's just Rad now?
Just rad
Just
now.
Rad. Okay. It's all Rad.
Yeah, so I have been involved with student publications, I guess, my whole undergrad. I
Oh,
was
cool.
previously working with Style Circle.
Oh, okay.
Like also I guess fashion. Like I guess I do kind of like fashion. I started on as a writer at Style Circle, and then in my second year I was the managing editor.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it was fun. But it was also very stressful. And I, in my third year, went on exchange. So I decided to take a step back and kind of not be a part of a student group that year because it just would be too complicated being away. And then towards the end of that year, I saw that Rad had opened up some roles, one of them being editor in chief. And that was like basically on Style Circle, that would have been kind of the next progression for me. It's
Yeah.
Ryerson Art and Design is what
Right.
Ryerson is for. And we, in each issue, feature fashion, interior design, and photography, which are kind of like the three programs at Ryerson that we sort of highlight, which is
Yeah.
like,
Those are like the three main things you've been talking about this whole time. So that's like perfect for
yeah,
you.
exactly. Like I have a lot of interest in multiple disciplines, and I just felt like it suited me. Yeah, I think I did have the right experience and kind of the right attitude for it as well.
Yeah, like I think your personality fits with like coordinating people because like you said, like well, I mean, a good thing and a bad thing, I guess, is being a people pleaser. Like that makes you very good with interaction with like a creative team, but obviously that makes it hard too. But like it probably helps, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
I
Yeah.
I will be honest, I have learned a lot from this year being in this position. It's not been easy. It's I've got a lot of gray hairs, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I can imagine. It all volunteer as well. Like
Yeah,
it's just a student organization, right? Yeah.
it's a student organization, so we don't get paid for the work that we do. Unfortunately, like
Yeah, because
I
it's so
sometimes
much work. It almost seems like a job. Like,
it absolutely is like a job. And it sometimes feels like, wow, I wish I could get paid for this because I feel like it's so much work. But that is kind of the one of the cons of being in a student organization. But one of the pros is that we get funded by our Ryerson.
you're getting paid in I mean, I hate this like when people say this in the creative industries, like you're getting paid in experience. But in this case, since it is a student organization, it makes sense. And like you are,
Yeah,
yeah, truly gaining an invaluable experience you wouldn't get somewhere else. And like without the pressure of it being a job, even though there is pressure for it to be good, of course, everyone wants it to be
yeah.
good. But yeah, it's a almost a no strings attached experience that you got to be a part of, which is great.
Well, like,
Much longer because I
exactly.
just realized we've only almost been on for like 2 hours. But I guess yeah, if like you have any sort of I don't know, I feel like it's hard to ask for advice on this podcast, like for people to share, because I am trying to talk to so many different creatives from different places. But I guess, yeah, like if you had something maybe you would have told your younger self that like you wish you would have known, maybe someone can find some like inspiration from that if you can think of anything.
Okay, oh, that's a hard question. I would probably tell myself to take it easy, have more confidence, like you're not doing a bad job.
So unfortunately, my recording with Emily got cut a little bit short because of technical difficulties. And so once again, I'm still new to this whole podcasting thing, as you know. The recording cut off in the middle of Emily saying something I actually thought was really valuable. One of the things she said was that she's a very sensitive and empathetic person, and that recently she started going to therapy, and that's been really helping her. And one of the main things she's learned is that it's actually a strength to be empathetic and sensitive and emotional. It doesn't mean that she's broken. She said she spent much of her childhood being a very emotional person and thinking that that made her weak, and that she should be considered broken and that she should work on not being so emotional. But she has realized now that it means she actually has the capacity to feel more deeply and to see beauty in the world and connect with others in a way that some people aren't able to do in the same way. Um, so now she's come to accept her empathy and her sensitivity as a strength. I really felt that that was a really important lesson to learn. I'm similar. I'm a very empathetic person. And I think I also thinking that that's something I need to fix. But I think that's an important part of who we are, and in the same way that maybe some other people are less empathetic, and maybe that is their form of strength, but empathy is our form of strength. So if you relate to that, I hope that helps you. I wish I could have had Emily say that in her own words, but alas, technical difficulties. But thank you so much for listening, and thank you, Emily, for coming on. Yes, thanks so much again for joining me on this episode of Hey Hi, Who Are You? Make sure to follow on Instagram and TikTok at heyhiwhoareyou.pod.